Okay, so it's a very auspicious day. We're very fortunate. Every day in Krishna consciousness is a day of great fortune. There are many reasons why we're very fortunate. We know that the goal of life is to achieve love for Krishna. This is the real goal, Prema Pumata Mahan. But that ability to achieve that goal is an extremely lofty goal. It is literally the goal of everyone's existence. Every single person that you meet, every single moment that you observe or interact with them, every single living entity, even down to the microscopic living entities, they all have the same one goal. Okay. But there is something that differentiates the different living entities. There's something that differentiates even the followers of Sanatana Dharma. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharmam Prityaja Mame Kam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Yishami Masuchaha. He gave the order, but he did not necessarily give the example. Okay. So in Kali Yuga, something very special came. Someone very special came. So Krishna gave the order 5,000 years ago. He gave the example as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years ago. So Krishna gave the example. Krishna gave the order. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave the example. Sri Nityananda Ram gave the access. Order is one thing. As it gets closer, it becomes example. When it becomes very intimate, it becomes access. So we are on this wonderful, very auspicious day of Nityananda Trayodashi, we're offering our gratitude to the Lord for the access. The order and the example are only complete when one has the access. We know that the prayers of the great acharyas, their bhajans, are continuously giving us insight into the spiritual world. Continuously. Narottam Das Thakur, his prayers, giving us access to the spiritual world, helping us to understand. Vrajendra Nandanaye Sachi Sutta Hoilo say Balaram Hoilo Nitai. So we know that Krishna, the wonderful mercy of the Lord, is such that he is existing in his extraordinary, most intimate realm in the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan. He is the son of Yashoda Nanda Maharaj. But Krishna has family, he has friends, he has relatives. His older brother, Sri Balaram. Balaram Hoilo Nitai. In this age of Kali, Balaram comes as Lord Nityananda. So the order, the example, the access. I'm gonna look at another song, another prayer by Narottam Das Thakur, Sri Nityananda Nishta. So, and this actual prayer is also quoted by Prabhupada in the class that we mentioned. I will read through the verses. There's only 4 verses, the translation, and then we'll also tie this in with some other points of the glories of Lord Nityananda and what he comes to give. Okay, so I'll just read this myself and you don't have to repeat this back. Nitai Pada Kamala Koti Chandra Sushitala Ye Chayai Jagata Jurai Heno Nitai Bine Bai Radha Krishna Paite Nai Dreda Kori Daronite Pai. Translation. The lotus feet of Lord Nityananda are more soothing than millions of moons, and their shade brings relief to the universe. Oh brother, without the mercy of Lord Nityananda, one cannot attain Radha and Krishna. So hold on tightly to Lord Nityananda's lotus feet. Interesting. So service can be done in many ways. It says here, without the mercy of Lord Nityananda, one cannot attain Radha and Krishna. What we see in Kali Yuga is we talk about the different forms of the Lord, right? We talk about different expansions of the Lord, original forms of the Lord, etc. But there is something also beyond the expansion of the Lord's form. It is not so often contemplated or recognized or perceived, but something in a sense, much more extraordinary and relevant for us than the expansion of the Lord's forms are the expansion of the Lord's mercy, right? And there's a correlation. We see this in the example of Sri Nityananda Ram, the famous example. The wonderful thing about our scriptures is our scriptures are like a great jigsaw puzzle. You see one piece of the jigsaw, you understand something, okay? But that jigsaw piece, it has meaning by itself. And when it's in context, it has even more meaning, okay? There's a difference between the different levels of devotees. The Kanishta sees the jigsaw. The Madhyam and the Uttama, they see the entire picture of which the jigsaw is just a part. In Srimad Bhagavatam, we hear that Jaya and Vijay, they are cursed by the four Kumaras to appear on the earth 3 times. Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, Shishupal and Dantavakra. Who are the other time when they come? Who are they? Ravana and Kumbhakarna. Okay, so it's said that they came 3 times, but they didn't come 3 times. You have one part of the jigsaw puzzle, it says 3 times, but they didn't come 3 times. They came a 4th time. What was that 4th time? When they returned to the spiritual world, the Lord told them, it is good that you've returned, but I'm performing my pastimes on the earth again as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, Jai and Vijay, they come a 4th time. And in that 4th incarnation, they have an interaction. When they come again, they come as who? I know Jagai and Madai. Okay. Bhagavatam says they come 3 times, but if we look at the wider teachings, they come again. So yes, they came 3 times, came back, they came again. Jagai and Madai. And this interaction that they had as Jagai and Madai is an extraordinary interaction, and especially significant is their interaction with Nityananda Prabhu. Their negative interaction with Nityananda Prabhu, their offensive interaction with Nityananda Prabhu, and how he responds to that is one of the most instructive, and if we're honest, and if we're able to meditate on it, one of the most heartbreaking interactions. Because the Jagai and Madais of the world are like us. The Jagais and the Madais of the world are like us. One of the biggest and strongest meditations I've been having over this period is the meditation of gratitude. In this Kali Yuga, Manda Sumanda Manda Bhagya, it is said the living entities are very unintelligent, extremely unintelligent. And one of the ways in which our lack of intelligence manifests is through our lack of gratitude. Our lack of gratitude, ladies and gentlemen, is a form of an unconscious bias. Let me explain that. We've been given so much. In this world, because our hearts are so hard, and because our hearts are so much in ignorance, every day, literally everyone on this planet, even though we've been given so much, because of this unconscious bias, a bias which we're not even aware of, when we look out in the world, we have this blind spot. The blind spot is everything that we've been given, we're blind to it. Our unconscious bias leads us to always look for someone and compare ourselves to the people who we feel have more than we do. We're blind to what we have. We're blind to everyone who may have less. Okay, we just completely ignore that, and because of our a priori ingratitude, right? I'm not grateful, and therefore my lack of gratitude, unconscious lack of gratitude, causes me in a world of 8 billion people. Get this, 8 billion people and several trillion other living entities, right? So it's not even just comparing myself to the others in the human species. There are plant species, there are animal species. Let me ignore all of that. Ignore ignore the fact that I at least have a human birth. Let's ignore that. Within the human birth, ignore the fact that I have certain facility, friends, family, a certain level of health, food, shelter, right? In this country, even let's say free healthcare, ignore all of that. What will I do? I will tune in to the few people who I think, I don't even know, but the few people who I think may have more than me, and then I'll fixate on that and then think, oh, I'm so unfortunate. I'm so unfortunate. They seem to have more than me. I don't even understand that what the person may have may not be anything compared to what they could have, or actually, let's pull out another way. When I compare myself to people, it's my perception. I don't know what they have. All I know is what I see. What a person has is not necessarily what you see. In America, there's a big thing. People who may be in very poor circumstances, they'll hire out big expensive cars, right? They don't have the car. You see the car, they don't have the car. You see on the internet, people pretend that they've got very great friendships and relationships. They hate each other's guts, but that 1 second image that you saw on social media, you become enamored by it. So there is this lack of gratitude. And because of this lack of gratitude, it expands. It expands into our spiritual life, ladies and gentlemen. We're extremely fortunate to know anything about Krishna, but we're not grateful. Even more fortunate than to know about Krishna is to know about Krishna in his most munificent incarnation. Namo Mahavanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gora Twashe Namaha. Why is he considered the most munificent? Because he's giving what no other incarnation has given. Krishna Prema Pradayate. This Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he appears extremely rarely. Very rare. And who is he? It's not Krishna's mood. Interesting. It's not Krishna's mood. Lord Chaitanya does not have Krishna's mood. Radha Bhava. Duty Suvalitam. Radha Bhava. We know that the feminine aspect is more compassionate than the masculine. If it wasn't enough, that after billions, countless lifetimes, we have come by some stroke of good fortune to know about Krishna, even though we don't deserve it. If that wasn't lucky enough, we've heard about Krishna, but we're not under the sway of Krishna's mercy. We're under the sway of Radharani's mercy. Prabhupada, there's a lecture he gave in London, in Berry Place. And I remember hearing about this lecture because it was Radhastami, 1999. And so His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj was giving the class, and he played some of the class by Prabhupada. He played from that class that Prabhupada gave at Berry Place. And Prabhupada says, what does he say about Radharani? Jagan Mata. Huh? He says, our mother Radharani. He says, Radharani, she's so kind. She says to Krishna, she recommends a living entity to Krishna. She says to Krishna, Krishna, here is your devotee. Please accept him. He's better than me. Huh? He says, she says, Krishna, here is your devotee. You please accept him. He or she is better than I am. And that mood has manifested. How is that mood manifested? In the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna, Nahi Anya. So he is the combined form, but even more specific, the mood is hers. So he's given. He's come in the form, he's come in the example, but there is something even more extraordinary. He is now also allowed us access through his devotees. This is why the devotees are considered to be even more auspicious in this sense. Right? You may have millions in the bank, but someone has to give you access. Try and understand that. Without access, your money has no meaning. Okay? That's the point. Without access, your money has no meaning. So who gives us access? Guru gives us access. Vaishnavas give us access. So we're talking now about Guru Tattva. We're talking now about that mercy manifestation. In the pastime of Jagai and Madai, they offend Lord Nityananda. Now, again, gratitude. If it wasn't enough to hear about Krishna, if it wasn't enough to hear about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if it wasn't enough that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has the mood of Radharani, so that he is even more merciful, then the summit of ingratitude is to ignore the example of Nityananda Ram. What is that example? Jagai and Madai, they are intensely sinful, right? They are intensely sinful. The way that they behave, they're debauchees, intensely sinful. When they offend Lord Nityananda, then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's ready to kill them. In fact, not only is he ready to kill them, he invokes his Sudarshan Chakra to kill them. Now, this is where the heartbreak comes in. And this is why we have to develop real gratitude. On this day of Nityananda Trayodashi, this is the way to develop gratitude, and with that mood of gratitude, because gratitude gives access to real feeling. In that mood of gratitude, then you pray. And then your prayer has more potency, because now your prayer it gives you access. This example, Lord Nityananda has been attacked. He's actually approached these personalities to say, look, just give everything up here. Just reach out, accept the mercy of the Lord, the mercy of the most merciful form of the Lord, right? And they have such a negative and offensive response. When Lord Chaitanya wants to kill him, Lord Nityananda says the following. He says, my dear Lord, please understand that in Kali Yuga, this is how everyone is. Okay? Understand that point. In Kali Yuga, everyone's unqualified. Manda Samanda Manda Bhagya. Interesting. It says in this age of Kali, everything has gone down. Intelligence goes down. Piety goes down. Duration of life goes down. One thing goes up. One thing goes up. False ego goes up. So Lord Nityananda, and this is the expansion of that mercy. He says, look, they're attacking, they're offensive, but they're all like this in Kali Yuga. So what should we do? my dear Lord, rather than kill them, because if you killed them, you actually kill your own mission. There is the internal mission, there's the external mission. Yada yada hidamasya glania bharati bharata. Krishna is coming also to re-establish religion. Annihilate the miscreants, re-establish religion. Associate with his devotees. Lord Nityananda says, don't kill them. Let us instead deliver them. It is because of Sri Nityananda Prabhu that we have a chance, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Understand, when Lord Nityananda comes, you're dealing with the SWAT team, spiritual special weapons and tactics. Okay, that is a special prerogative, the special example of this mercy incarnation. Nityananda Ram, mercy incarnation, and he is connecting us with the most extraordinary level of love. Because there are different types of prema. There's prema in Dwaraka, there's prema in Vaikuntha. Nityananda Ram is connecting us with Golokera Premadana. Goloka prema, the topmost prema. I want you to take a moment and reflect upon this. Even though we are the most unqualified, what we've been given by the auspicious advent of the Lord in the form of Nityananda, what we've been given access is the highest thing. Do you understand this point? Right? And this is, if we meditate on these points, these are truths. So when we meditate on these truths, then you can access gratitude. Because too often as devotees, we live unconscious. We have no idea of what we've been given, and we sleepwalk in spiritual life. So many people in the world right now are suffering with all types of mental distress, mental illness. And sometimes our low mood is because we do not understand what we've been given. You understand? We do not understand what we've been given. We do not take the moment to stop, to pause, to think, what am I actually doing here? What have I been given? What have I been given access to? We've been given access to the greatest place in the spiritual world, and the person who's giving us access, this is his birthday. This is his birthday. Lord Nityananda, in this prayer, the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda are more soothing than millions of moons, and their shade brings relief to the universe. This is what it means. Their shade brings relief to the universe because people are burning. This material world is like a forest fire. Everyone's burning. Everyone's burning. And you know what the sad thing is? This is a really sad thing. Even the people who are burning often don't realize how much they're burning. Do you ever stop to think what's going to happen to you when you leave this world? Do you ever stop to think about that? Do you ever stop to think that actually your death is one moment away? One moment away. There was a reporter, he was interviewing Prabhupada, and he was talking about Prabhupada, why are you giving sannyas to all these young boys? Right? Isn't sannyas meant to be given to someone older? Prabhupada said, what do you understand what it means to be old? Prabhupada said to him, old means that you're just before death, right? And the reporter agreed. And Prabhupada said, so how do you know that you're not about to die? Brilliant response. Old means you're just before death. So on this call, it doesn't matter how old your body is, you and I, we're old. Because one moment from now, we will leave this world. If we follow the advent, the example, the mercy of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, then only our life will be successful. This is the point. Then only will we have this soothing effect, because we're burning. See, the difficulty in this world is that the pain is of different types. And some of those types are obvious, mode of ignorance. Some of the pain people experience are bewildering and dazzling mode of passion. So what happens in the world, if you're in the mode of goodness, it's easier to practice spiritual life, because in the mode of goodness, you're naturally more attracted to religious and spiritual pursuits. What does Prabhupada write in his Jaladuta prayers, in his prayers when he's coming here? Markine Bhagavatam. He talks about the fact that the people in this world, especially in the Western world, they're affected by ignorance and passion. So this passion, this is the burning, the itch. And there's no relief unless you receive this mercy, more soothing than millions of moons. What is that moon? Ultimately, that moon is Krishna. The moon of the Lord, the soothing moon. So when we take mercy of the Lord, that means we take mercy of his opportunities. That means that we have a grateful heart. So you can understand one of the symptoms that you are making progress in spiritual life means that you're grateful, because you actually understand what is going on. You actually understand what you've been given, and moreover, you take advantage of it. Let's read the second verse of this prayer. Se sambandha nahi ja, Rita janma gelota, Se pashu borodura cha, Nitai na bolilo muke, Majilo samsara suke, Vidya kule kikoribe ta. Narottam Das has written, one who has not established a relationship with Nityananda Prabhu has spoiled his human birth. Such a person can be compared to a sinful animal. Never speaking about Lord Nityananda, he becomes absorbed in the so-called pleasures of material life. How can his useless education and family tradition do him any good? Very strong statements by Narottam Das Thakur. Here, never speaking about Lord Nityananda. On the days of the appearance of such great personalities, if you glorified them, everything changes in your life. What happens on the material birthday? On a material birthday, you give that person, the person receives gifts. The special glory of such great personalities is on their appearance day, they give the gift. They give the gift to anyone who just has to be receptive. All they beg, just recognize, just be receptive. What is that gift? That gift is the access to the Lord's mercy. If Nityananda recommends you, you will be accepted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Isn't that incredible? If Nityananda recommends you, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will accept you. If Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepts you, you will gain entrance to Vraja. You will gain entrance to the eternal loving pastimes of the Lord. And we're all growing old. Remember that. Be very careful to make sure that this life is our last. Let us make that determination. And that determination requires something. That determination requires something that we can get unlimitedly today. Determination requires strength. We know that form of strength is Balaram. We know that form of strength comes in this age of Kali as Lord Chaitanya's own associate, as Lord Nityananda. What is Balaram? Balaram is the support. So he manifests as the dam, he manifests as Krishna's dress, he manifests as Krishna's paraphernalia, he manifests as Krishna's cowherd stick, Krishna's flower decorations, his sitting places, all the ornaments that Krishna wears on his body. They are manifestations of Lord Balaram. So what does that mean? It is to indicate to us just the intimacy of this personality. And that same Balaram is Lord Nityananda. So what is it? That Balaram, these expansions, in Balaram's, the special quality is In Dasyaras, for example, Balaram acts as Krishna's servant. In Shantaras, he acts as the dam, right, the paraphernalia. In Sakyaras, Balaram acts as Krishna's friend, right? And when Krishna is in ecstasy, he soothes Krishna. He has, because he's an older brother, there's also the parental mood, Vatsaliras. And even Balaram manifests in Maduras as Ananga Manjari to participate in various pastimes. How extraordinary is this personality? This is his birthday. And he comes as Lord Chaitanya. What does he come to give? He comes to give service to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as an associate. Let's move on. By the way, I'm just checking. Is it Ravi? Is it 45 minutes and then questions, or how do you want me to break up the time?
Yeah, if we can leave about let's say about 10 minutes for Q&A, if that's okay.
No problem. I'll quickly go through these next two verses and then we'll take it from there. Ahankari mata hoya Nitai pada pasariya Asachere satyakori mani Nitaye koruna habe Braje Radha Krishna pabe Daro nitai charanadu kani. Translation. Being maddened by the false ego, one easily forgets the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda while considering untruth to be truth. If Nityananda is merciful, one can attain Radha and Krishna in Vraj. We mentioned this before. So hold on tightly to Lord Nityananda's lotus feet. This statement, hold on tightly to Lord Nityananda's lotus feet. What does this mean for us practically? It means that the order of Guru is everything. Ladies and gentlemen, understand, in the form of instructions, in the form of the teachings, in the form of the practices, these are all manifestations of mercy. These are all manifestations of mercy. These personalities, they exist and they always are accessible. Not because we've done anything to deserve it. Right? The theme of spiritual life is mercy. Mercy means that which you and I, we have no qualification for. It is very interesting, this point. It says here, being maddened by the false ego, one easily forgets the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda while considering untruth to be truth. I had this really strong this strong realization. Even amongst our community of devotees, we're all trying to feel ourselves to be qualified. This is one of the biggest mistakes you can make in your spiritual life. You should not try to think yourself to be qualified. You should actually embrace the fact that you are unqualified. If you do this, a miracle will happen in your spiritual life. The more that you embrace and really feel yourself, the more we feel ourselves to be unqualified, the more you will feel the grace of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. Because Lord Nityananda has come to deliver the unqualified. Even more than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's come to deliver unqualified people. But the unqualified, amongst the unqualified, that's Nityananda's mission. This is the trick of Maya. The trick of Maya is people want to feel themselves superior to other people. But that doesn't work in spiritual life. In spiritual life, it's the opposite. Believe me, it's the opposite. The more you feel yourself unqualified, the more you will feel the mercy will expand in your life. It is just so amazing. I was at the manor. This is many years ago. And there was a brahmachari at the manor. And I was in the brahmachari ashram. And he said to me, and he said, what do you think about this statement? And he was talking about statements which are made in our scripture and it's talking about certain unqualified people, right? This group are unqualified, that group are unqualified, lowborn, etc. And he said to me, what do you think about that? And it's so interesting. I'll tell you honestly what happened. The moment he said that, something just came from my heart. I answered automatically. I didn't even know what I was saying. And I made the point to him, I said, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, they come to deliver the most unqualified people. I said, so who do you think is going to achieve the most exalted position if they truly embrace this status of being unqualified? And he was shocked. There's something very esoteric about our teachings. And it's something that's esoteric, and it's only revealed to people if they really have some humility. These teachings, try and understand this. This Krishna consciousness is not what you think it is. Even the teachings themselves, they're encrypted. And these teachings are responsive to consciousness. One factor. They're responsive to two things. One is consciousness. That is why when you read the same literature again and again, you see something different depending on your consciousness. They're responsive to consciousness, but perhaps even more important, they're responsive to mercy. So they're responsive to two things, consciousness and karuna, right? The teachings themselves have a very esoteric edge to them. And if there isn't humility, if there isn't that sense of servitude, you don't get to see that side of things. The pickup happens beneath the surface. People think that the more that they ascend, that's where they get the mercy. No. In Kali Yuga, I love the way Andrew put it. In Kali Yuga, our qualification, is that we're unqualified. The more one feels themselves unqualified, the more you'll receive. It's amazing. So I see this in our communities. I see the devotees trying to be like, I'm better. I'm thinking, you don't understand the philosophy. You've misunderstood the philosophy. There's a class, he's one of my Shiksha gurus, and I always have great reverence for him. There's a class by Tamal Krishna Maharaj, and he says something, and he said the same thing. He said the same thing that Bhakti Charu Maharaj told me. I had the darshan with Bhakti Charu Maharaj many years ago. And he said something that always left an impression in my mind. He told me, he said, Bhuta Bhavana, he said, the more that someone truly makes advancement in spiritual life, the more they feel themselves unqualified. He told me that directly. And this class I was listening to this class last year by Tamal Krishna. He said the same thing, right? And it's so amazing, because if you understand that, then when you look and you see the devotees and you see that they're boasting about how great they are, how much they've done, how advanced they are, you think, he's going in the wrong direction. He doesn't understand what's going, he doesn't actually get it. Because if you actually come closer to Krishna, he's so kind. If you come close to his devotees, they're so kind that the only thing you can feel is that I don't deserve this. If you actually have darshan, if you actually come close, if you actually have relationship, there's signs, you can't fake it. There is no such thing as an advanced devotee who lacks gratitude and who lacks humility. It's not possible. You come to someone who's a billionaire and you have no money, you feel their opulence. You come to someone who is all beautiful, all attractive, who has all good qualities, and if you feel that you're great, it means you haven't had darshan. You haven't even begun the journey. There are symptoms of advancement. At every stage of Krishna consciousness, there are certain symptoms that cannot be faked. And this is one of them. Gratitude, right? So this sense of gratitude, this sense of humility. And this is our problem. We consider untruth to be truth. That's our problem, because we're in ignorance. We don't understand what we've been given. So we think, I'm great. Look, I'm great. I've done more than everyone else. If you actually had realization, you would be feeling I've got no qualification whatsoever, and that feeling would intensify. And as we feel ourselves unqualified, our gratitude also expands. Because I'm unqualified, but I'm still being given this gift, all I can feel is just how kind Krishna is, just how kind Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, just how kind Nityananda Prabhu is, Nitya Ananda, eternally blissful. Okay, let's go to the last verse and then we'll open up for questions. Nitaye charana satya tahara sevaka nitya nitai pada sadakoro asha narotama boroduki nitai more korosuki rakoranga charanira pasha. The lotus feet of Nityananda are the manifestation of the highest truth, and all his servants are transcendental. Now, listen to this last line. Always put your hope on the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. Narottam Das is very miserable and prays, "O Nityananda, make me happy by keeping me close to your lotus feet." This should be our prayer. This should be our prayer. There's something very special in these prayers, by the way. You can do this as an experiment. I'm always thinking, what does this mean practically? How do we take advantage of the mercy? Again, Guru principle, Guru Tattva is how you take advantage of the mercy by doing something practical, following the specific instruction. There's an instruction here. O Nityananda, make me happy by keeping me close to your lotus feet. When you recite the prayers of pure devotees, and when you try and do it sincerely, their mood enters into our own heart. The real unhappiness of the living entity is our heart is hard. Therefore, it doesn't, to be honest with you, it doesn't matter what you get in the material world. If you have a hard heart, you can't appreciate anything. Because the appreciation is actually a state of consciousness. It is not what the person has. It is a state of consciousness. So you become a millionaire, you'll still be unhappy. You become a billionaire, you'll still be unhappy. But you have a mood of gratitude to Lord Nityananda, then whatever you get, it will be considered to be so relishable because it's come from Lord Nityananda. It's come from Guru. And therefore your gratitude will always expand, and it will expand to the spiritual world. You see, this is the trick. Don't think about what you have or what you don't have. Think about how you feel about what you have. And we need to practice this gratitude, and it starts here. Oh Lord Nityananda, make me happy by keeping me close to your lotus feet. There's a subtle transformation that happens when we recite these prayers. These prayers have also been manifested in the material world for our benefit. Reciting these prayers is actually simultaneously the process of absorbing the mood of pure devotees who actually have this love. And by reciting in that mood with sincerity, you will get their mood, this bhava. That's what we want, ladies and gentlemen. Gratitude, abundance, spiritual enthusiasm is not what you have externally. It is a state of consciousness. And paradoxically, that state of consciousness can manifest whatever the Lord wants to manifest. We should be so grateful. We should be so grateful on days like this that we even know the name Nityananda. We even hear the name. That we have access to such esoteric truths. This is not a religion. Most people, even religious people, they just have some idea that there's God. To be honest, it's dry. I mean, it's better than nothing. But when you compare it to Gaudiya Vaishnavism, my God, what do you have here? Krishna's own associates, the pastimes that go on in the spiritual world, Krishna's form, the food he likes to eat, the loving pastimes, his interactions and dealings with his devotees, the sweetness of their interactions, the sweetness of their mood. You have that darshan, Leela darshan. You read Chaitanya Charitamrita, you're watching how the eternal associates interact. And one day, when we read these pastimes, we will enter into those pastimes and we will be bathed in that mood, in that bhava as well. And these days are the opportunity. This personality is the opportunity. Nityananda, opportunity personified, strength personified, mercy personified. All we need to do, ladies and gentlemen, is to cry out, to call out, and to sincerely submit ourselves to his mercy by following his example and serving the order of Guru, which is the order of Lord Nityananda. Okay, let me stop there and open up for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Bhuta Bhavana Prabhu. We have some questions that have come. First question is, I've been thinking about Lord Nityananda's Avadut personality. Does Lord Balaram show signs of this nature, or was it unique to Lord Nityananda?
So it is, yes. So Lord Nityananda, I to not, and feel free to correct me if you have read something to the opposite. I have not read that Balaram is an Avadut. I've not read that Balaram has that mood of an Avadut. I've read that Nityananda has that mood of an Avadut, that lawless mood. So again, we're extremely, extremely fortunate. That lawlessness, that's the reason why we are in Krishna consciousness, by the way. If you examine your life very clearly, you'll see that there's times that you're not even following so deeply, so strongly. Your consciousness is all over the place, but someone is carrying you. You should be clear on that. Don't think it's you. Never think it's you. Someone is carrying you. Our entire process is working on mercy. I know, and I can tell you this for a fact. This is not, sometimes you hear these classes and it's philosophical. No, this is not philosophical. I can tell you for a fact, we're being carried much, much more than you can possibly imagine. You one day when we go back to the spiritual world, you'll understand just how much you were carried by someone else. And that's the only way we go back in Kali Yuga, right? This is, we read about it, but we don't understand what we're reading. Kripa Siddha means that. It means someone has given you mercy and the mercy is carrying you. All you need to do in spiritual life is you need to collect Kripa. By following strictly, following the order of the Guru, having the right mentality of humility, you are collecting Kripa. And that Kripa will manifest one day as you wake up one day and you'll be in the pastimes of the Lord. You'll take birth in the womb of a gopi, somewhere in the material universe where Krishna is performing his pastimes, and you'll be further trained up by one of the eternal associates of the Lord. Get that. That's what's going to actually happen, right? And our death is like a moment away. So make it count. Okay, there are so many things going on in your life, and it's understandable, family life, all these other things, but make sure that you see what the reality is. Your family can't save you, right? Your friends can't save you. I remember I read a quote by Prabhupada recently. Actually, if I could, let me read this to you, because this is, I know it's going off in a sense, but I want to read this to you because I think this is really important and it will help. Okay, let me just read to you what was said here. Let's see. Here we are. Okay, in one lecture, this B.B. Govinda Maharaj was mentioning how in one lecture Prabhupada said, do not expect your wife to make you Krishna conscious. Do not expect your husband to make you Krishna conscious. Certainly do not expect your temple president to make you Krishna conscious. Now get this last line. And most of all, do not expect me to do it for you. You have to make a decision. That's a quote by Prabhupada. You see? Mercy. The mercy is offered, but we have to say yes. So that avadut, causeless, avadut in this sense means causeless mercy. Doesn't matter, you're unqualified. And this is also, there's a practical thing to this. This is why when you see devotees behaving badly, be careful. Be careful in two ways. Be careful, A, not to follow the bad example, but be careful not to write them off. Okay? Understand that. I know one devotee in particular, they're very moralistic. This person's behaving badly, why are people taking it? And next time I see them, if they can hear, often people can't hear, but if they can hear, I'm going to tell them directly, you're very moralistic and it's great, you should be upright and well behaved, but don't think that that's the same as Krishna consciousness. What I want to tell them is, you're being moral, it's your material conditioning. And actually, more important than being moral is getting the mercy of pure devotees, which is getting the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Devotees, we don't see things properly. You think, oh, they're behaving badly, why are they getting the mercy? No, that's not the right thing. You should think, they're behaving badly, look how merciful Lord Nityananda is, I need some of that too. If Krishna consciousness is relegated to people who just behave really well, no one gets it. Understand? Including you. If Krishna consciousness becomes relegated to people who are qualified, you will not be going back home back to God at any time soon. Right? So when you see devotees get mercy in spite of bad behavior, understand that is Nityananda Shakti. I need some of that. Okay? That's how it really works. We're all mercy cases. Doesn't mean we should allow bad behavior. If you're an authority, you should address it because it's your job. But we should understand we need all this, we need all the causes mercy we can get. Just like Lord Nityananda said that to Lord Chaitanya, don't kill them, they're all like this, deliver them. We should have that same mood towards other people, although we should not copy bad example. Okay? This is how our movement works. It is always causeless mercy. Okay? And that's practical. So next time you see bad behavior, look at it through Shastra. Look at it through the pastime of Lord Nityananda with Jagaya Madai, and you will see something else and you will gain something else. Because if you have that mood, you'll get more mercy. Okay? So don't behave badly. If you have a responsibility to address something, do your job, but have the right mood. Okay? We're all mercy cases. It's not that, because when that devotee who I'm talking about, they're unconscious of it, but what they really think, I'm so moral, I'm so upright, so why is that person getting away with this bad behavior? But if they knew what the standard was, they wouldn't think anything about themselves. This is the point. Sorry to go off track, but I just wanted to say, I felt inspired to say that. Any other questions?
Thank you, Prabhu. Next question. What can we meditate on from Nityananda Leela relating to our own preaching efforts?
Yeah, so it's exactly that same point. You're going to meet Jagaya Madai. You're going to meet Jagaya Madai. And when you meet Jagaya Madai, think to yourself, someone met me. That's what you should think. That will expand the mercy. Yeah, I'm meeting Jagaya Madai, and someone else met Jagaya Madai when they met me. And they still extended some kindness and mercy to me. So therefore, the way that I was treated, the mercy I was given, the lack of qualification that I still have, that was overlooked, I should now pay it forward to someone else. That's how we should look at it.
Wonderful, thank you. Bhuta Bhavana Prabhu, are we okay to still have you for another 10-15 minutes,
Yes,
if that's okay,
yes.
with some questions?
Yes.
Thank you. Also, devotees, some of you have questioned anonymously, privately, from our own congregation. Just our etiquette, I'm going to ask the questions first from our guests, and if we have enough time, we'll come to the ones from our own Birmingham community. So apologies for that. Kirtan London, we have a question. How do we understand those Vaishnavas who don't accept the Gaudiya understanding and therefore don't accept Gaunitai?
There's a statement in the Shastra that says anyone who doesn't accept Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya is a demon and a rascal. There's some very heavy statements. Again, it's esoteric. So there are the statements and there's the mood, right? So the statements are there, but the mood is always one of tolerance. You see, there are some people who worship Krishna in this world, and they do not know about Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. They are missing out. There's no question about that. But is it my place to then judge them? No, not at all. Not at all. There's a consciousness that develops in us as devotees when we're not sufficiently grounded. And I've made this mistake many times, right? I always want to, what I'm really excited about in spiritual life is authenticity, right? I've seen in my own life so many times I made that mistake. But now as I get older and I reflect on it, I look back and I saw a pattern in my own consciousness. When I made that mistake where I was too much concerned about what other people were or were not doing, it was simply because I wasn't giving proper attention to what I should be doing, right? And I realized it was a symptom, right? If you're really focused on what you're meant to be doing, your own purification, your own service, then people accepting, not accepting, it doesn't become such a big deal, right? Because you're so absorbed in what you're meant to be doing. But if I'm too focused on what other people are doing or what they're not doing, it's a sign that I need to give more attention to my own practice and my own service. It really is like that, you know. It's also often a symptom of low self-esteem. When people have low self-esteem, they're always looking at what everyone else is doing, and subtly they're comparing themselves. Oh, but what about them? They're not doing something proper. It's like, well, what's that got to do with you, right? Are you really telling me that you're at such a high level of spiritual life that you can take your focus away from your own spiritual life, your own spiritual progress, and focus on what everyone else is doing? If it's your service, that's different. Again, that's a caveat. But if it's not your service, don't worry about whether they accept Lord Chaitanya or not. You can offer it to them, but do you accept Lord Chaitanya? Right? Let's start there. Let's have that conversation. Do you accept Lord Chaitanya? And I don't mean with lip service. I mean with mission service. So we start like that. And then everything else will come. One of the subtle things in spiritual life is what you have in your consciousness, that's what you can share with other people. So if you accept Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda's mercy, even the people who don't know of him, you will have the potency to give them access. You see, it's very esoteric, but we have to accept it ourselves. Okay. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. Next question. Why are new non-initiated devotees made to feel inferior to initiated devotees? Apostrophe mark senior devotee. Pure devotee terminology is used quite frequently. Should we not judge others by the example set by Lord Nityananda?
Yeah. So, okay, there's a few angles to this, but I'm just going to try and get to the essence of it. So I'll tell you again, honestly, my spiritual master told me once, he said, someone may be senior in position, but not necessarily senior in consciousness. There's two things. One, to be very frank, in Kali Yuga is the age of being uncultured, right? I was having this communication with one devotee earlier. So what happens is people who are cultured, they respect authority. Okay? So people who are cultured, someone is in a senior position, you respect authority because you're cultured. In Kali Yuga, hardly anyone's cultured. I've seen hardly anyone. So in Kali Yuga, because people are uncultured, even if someone's in a position of authority, why do I need to listen to them? You know, what do they know? I don't need to, because you just don't want to follow authority. And that's a symptom of our envy of Krishna, by the way. Because we're envious of Krishna, who's the supreme authority, anyone who's got any position, you know, behind their back, let me stick my fingers up at them. Who do they think they are? It's just all uncultured behavior. So the first thing is, if we're junior, we should respect our seniors. Because it's cultured, it pleases Krishna. And what it does also is when you respect people who are senior to you, you invoke their mercy, which allows you to become advanced. That's what actually happens. Now, if they are senior and but so I'm talking about senior in terms of elders, position, whatever. If they're senior and they're badly behaved, you still respect the position, but you don't, you're not foolish. Let's put it that way. They may be badly behaved, but they're senior. The example, someone told me this. I didn't hear the class. They told me that Radhanath Maharaj gave an example about this. He said, when someone's senior, he said it should be considered like someone who's on the journey. They're further along the journey than you are, but their car has become, their car has got stuck in a ditch. So they're further along, but they're stuck in the ditch, right? So and when I heard that, I thought that's a very powerful example. Why? Because sometimes if we think about Prabhupada disciples, they've done all kinds of austerities, right? Most of our generation, we've not given up, our education, family, to move into the temple full time and just distribute books, potentially putting our entire material future at risk. We haven't done it, right? We haven't traveled around the world having literally nothing, given up, our comfortable middle-class family to try. We haven't done that. They have. So sometimes, let's be very real. Sometimes someone may be senior, they may be around for a long time, and they're behaving in ways which you think that's not what they're meant to be doing. It's real, right? We're not gonna, I don't want to give these inauthentic classes where we kind of have some stylized idea. No, sometimes the seniors do not behave properly, but you should still respect them, right? Why? Because at some point you may be that person, right? You understand? There's a culture here. We're trying to become cultured. So that's the first thing, but you don't follow bad example. That's the point. And you have to use your intelligence, because if you don't and you get mistreated, then you become bitter and resentful. And when you become bitter and resentful, what does that lead to? It usually leads to an offensive mentality. There is no place in other words, there's no place in Krishna consciousness for being foolish. It's not some kind of sign, oh, but but they're a senior devotee. It's like, so therefore, when they asked me to give them my credit card details, I said yes, because they're a senior. No, that's just foolish, right? And you'll be held responsible for that, by the way. Yeah. So someone may be, my Guru Maharaj said, someone may be senior in position, but not necessarily senior in consciousness. However, we're looking for an excuse to respect everyone. You see, that's the real culture. Yes, I want to respect you. So I recognize that you're older than me, so I want to give you respect on that basis. I'm looking for an excuse to respect you. So the fact that you're a Prabhupada disciple, I give you respect on that basis. I'm looking for, I want to respect you. So I see how much you serve well in this area, so I give you respect on that basis. We're looking for a reason to respect everyone. That's the Trinada piece in Nichano. Now, at the same time, now I'm addressing people who are senior. If you're senior and everyone is senior to someone, then you should be giving love and care and guidance to juniors. So you should be giving them respect in the form of love, care, and guidance. Everyone has a service has a role to play. When you're junior, you show your love for your seniors by taking guidance to the degree that they're proper seniors. And when you're senior, you show your love by giving shelter, giving encouragement. So the point is, everyone is meant to show love according to their position. You're junior to someone, you're peers to someone, and you're senior to someone else. So this point about seniors is not anyone who's truly senior won't do that, right? At the same time, there is a difference. I explored this recently with a devotee. In the modern world, they're trying to get rid of hierarchy, but you can't get rid of hierarchy. It's natural. One way to get rid of hierarchy is in the mode of ignorance. So you try and pretend it's all equal. That person's a Prabhupada disciple. He's been studying the teachings for 50 years, or she's been studying for 50 years. Just because they do something that you don't like, it doesn't suddenly mean that they're nothing. It doesn't work that way. Their 50 years of service does not become negated because they don't behave properly towards you, or they're not encouraging. That's the wrong vision. That if you think that, it means you are junior, right? You didn't see the 50 years. You didn't see what they did. You didn't see them fighting with their parents when their parents said to them, if you leave and join the temple, I will disown you, right? You've not seen the full picture. So even if they do something wrong, it does not negate the 50 years of service, right? Cut them some slack, That's the basic line. That's a real point. At the same time, the seniors, you can't then say, I'm senior, therefore I can behave however I please. No, you have to be a good example. When I first came to Krishna consciousness, one devotee friend of mine who gave me a lot of guidance, he was so sincere. He really set me up. I remember one time, because I used to clean the stairs at Soho Street Temple. It was blissful. He told me sometimes, he said that someone senior, right? He said it's just like the police, right? So when they're in the police uniform and they're behaving properly, he said when they're behaving properly, they represent the law. But when that policeman is taking a bribe, right, and allowing the criminal activity because he's looking the other way, because he's been bribed, he said when he's doing that, then at that point he's not representing the law. You see the point? So that's the difference between being senior by position and being senior by behavior. Okay, but you respect the fact that they've been around. You're looking for some reason to respect everyone, but at the same time, you do not follow any bad example, and you're not naive to be drawn into anything which is unfavorable for your Krishna consciousness. That's the full answer. But just one last point on this. Just because someone senior to you tells you off, that doesn't mean that they're bad, right? Just because someone's senior, sometimes a senior will have to humble us, right? Oh, they didn't give me encouragement. That doesn't mean that they're bad. Sometimes we have to think, what's going on? Why has Krishna allowed me to be humbled in this way? Why has Krishna allowed me to be on the receiving end? Irrespective of what they're doing, what's the lesson for me? If you have that mentality, you will always be able to grow. Okay, so that's the last thing on that. Sometimes we may think that they're acting in ways that make us feel inferior, but they may think, you know what, this person's a bit proud. I'm going to humble them. One of my god brothers, he told me this when I was in Mayapur. There had been a book distribution marathon. He had distributed more books than anyone else. And my spiritual master was reading out the book scores, and he glorified every single person. And when he came to that devotee who had distributed the most books, he said nothing. He said nothing. And they were really hurt. They were hurt. And then they told me, we were in Mayapur, and they told me, they said later that evening, their guru, my spiritual master, said to them, he said, I know you were upset that I didn't glorify you this morning. I know you were hurt by that, because they were his personal servant. He said, but you have to understand, he said, these other devotees, they did less than you, but they did the best that they could, right? I know what their capacity is, so I glorified them because I knew that they did the best that they could. When I looked at your school, I saw what you did. I know you did more than them, but I know that you were capable of doing so much more. So actually, if you look at it in terms of what they're capable of, they actually did more than you. That's why I glorified them, but I did not glorify you. So things are not always what they seem. Okay. Any other questions?
What is the line between being unqualified and being hard or detrimental to yourself?
Yeah, very simple. There's two types of unqualified. Unqualified in the mode of ignorance. In the mode of passion, that someone thinks that they are qualified. That's passion. It's arrogance, pride. So we don't have to worry about passion. You can feel yourself unqualified in two ways. Unqualified in the mode of ignorance, unqualified in the mode of goodness. So you can work out which one you are by the symptoms. If you feel unqualified in the mode of ignorance, you feel down and depressed, and you don't have any enthusiasm to try, because you just feel, you know what, nothing works for me. I can't do it. No one's going to help me. Krishna's not kind. So that's unqualified in the mode of ignorance. So the symptom of that kind of lack of qualification is it's actually low self-esteem. You're actually just meditating on yourself and how you can't do anything, right? Now, what we're talking about, what's healthy, is unqualified in the mode of goodness. Unqualified in the mode of goodness is where you feel, I can't do it by my own strength. But in the mode of goodness, you're not only focused on yourself. You see, when you have a vision in goodness, it's you and Krishna, right? So even though you feel small, you can still see this person who's with me is very big. And when it's unqualified in the mode of goodness, you think, I can't achieve it by myself, but Krishna loves me, right? Krishna loves me. Krishna wants me to be successful. Lord Nityananda wants me to be successful, and he's ready to give the mercy to the most fallen. Aha, ready to give mercy to the most fallen. That's me, right? That's me. I'm that guy. So therefore, there's no doubt that he's going to help me if I just tried my best to take shelter of him. So very simple. If you feel unqualified in the mode of ignorance, that's where you'll give up. You'll feel depressed. You'll feel unenthusiastic. If you feel unqualified in the mode of goodness, which is what the scripture talks about, you'll feel, I can't do it, but he's so kind. And therefore, that type of disqualification will make you more enthusiastic to try your best. It will make you more determined to persevere. It will make you more careful because you'll think, I need to do everything I can to take advantage of Lord Nityananda's mercy, right? I gave a class to the devotees in South Africa, and it was a class on the, they wanted me to speak on the Bhagavad Gita and mental health. So one of the things that we were talking about is self-esteem. So I asked myself the question, is self-esteem mentioned, is self-esteem mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita? Right? So I had to meditate on that. Is self-esteem mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita? And I got a realization. Krishna revealed something to me, which is incredible. And this is some interesting things that you can do if you start to understand scripture more deeply. Self-esteem is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. It's mentioned in the intersection between two statements in the Bhagavad Gita, which people read and which we may have heard many times, but we didn't really understand deeply. The first one, Pandita Samadarshana. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says a learned person sees everyone with equal vision. Now, we normally take it, it's like, yeah, okay, I see all the other people with equal vision, but no, there's more to it than that. If you see everyone with equal vision, that vision includes yourself. That equal vision includes you. See, this is a blind spot. That equal vision is meant to include you. So what does it mean to have equal vision? It means to feel that you are just as valuable as everyone else. That's equality, right? I'm not better than other people, but I'm not inferior to other people. That was the first statement. The second statement, which as the two come together really brings this out, is Krishna says, Samoham Sarvabhuteshu. What does that mean? He's saying that he is equal, kind, and merciful to everyone. He has no favorites. So if you have a supreme benefactor who's equal to everyone, and if you also see everyone with equal vision, those two things, if you really truly believe that, that is the definition of self-esteem. I'm not better than other people. I'm not worse than other people. In other words, I am as valuable as everyone else. I'm not more valuable than other people, but I'm also not inferior to other people as well. So if I have that mood and then connect with humility, I'll be enthusiastic, right? So I'm insignificant, I'm unqualified, but Samoham Sarvabhuteshu. Krishna has no favorites. So if I try to be Krishna conscious, he's going to help me just as much as he's going to help anyone else, right? So real healthy self-esteem, it only comes if you truly accept what Krishna says, right? Our trouble is we don't believe it. We don't, he says equal vision. No, he can't mean me, right? But he says it, but no, he can't mean me. He says he's got no favorites. No, but he likes these people more than me. But that's not what he said. That's not what he said. He said he's equal, he's impartial. So either you accept what he says or you don't. There's no middle ground. If you accept what Krishna said, that means he's ready to give you mercy as much as anyone else, right? So what's stopping you? Any other questions?
Thank you, bro. We have another question here. How do we reflect on our spiritual growth without growing our ego?
Yeah. So the point is, you should be able to know where you are, but you should understand that it's a gift that you've been given. It's not, you don't grow, no one goes back to Godhead by their own endeavor. Endeavor is not, there's a, some of you may have this book. Shiv Ram Raj has released a new book. What is, what's it called again? Sankalpa Modi, right? So I was looking through it because I was preparing for a class, and I saw something which I'd been told a few years ago. It was incredible. In that book, it's quite far into the book. I read in the Bhagavatam, 8th canto, chapter 15, text number 28, in the purple. Prabhupada has a line there, right? He says the mercy of the spiritual master is more important than one's own endeavor for Krishna's mercy, and for one's own, it's more important than one's own endeavor to make advancement. It's in that purple. When I first went to India, year 2000, I was listening to a seminar from Shraddha to Prema. It was a seminar on the Madhurya Kadambini. And in that seminar, as we were going through Madhurya Kadambini, what came up was that very famous point about mercy and effort, right? We know Damodar Leela, the rope is 2 parts too short. Those 2 parts represent effort and mercy. And it always occurred to me, are they equally important? No, they're not equally important. Your endeavor is one thing, but it's not your endeavor that takes you back. Your endeavor is important, but the endeavor is our endeavor has a specific purpose. You're meant to endeavor for mercy. That's the point. You're not meant to think that by my endeavor, I'm able to advance myself. No, there's always an agency, right? We're meant to use our time, energy, intelligence to endeavor for mercy. And what is that mercy? You endeavor to please pure devotees. They have Krishna. What happens is then your endeavor pleases them. And because they're pleased, they give you so much more than you can possibly get. And then I found that point was mentioned in Sankalpa Modi. And Shiv Ramaj explains exactly how it works. He says, what happens, and I can give you the page reference if anyone wants to, I can find the exact page. It's incredible. I see devotees all the time in our communities who are a bit proud, like, yeah, I've done this, I've done that. And I'm like, dude, you don't even realize. You think you've achieved something by your effort. Your effort has nothing to do with it, or let's say very little to do with it. You've pleased pure devotees. Therefore, what you've achieved is a gift. Our effort is to please pure devotees. When they're pleased, they tell Krishna, Krishna, please, bless this person. And Krishna listens to them and then blesses them. And as that cycle continues, then what happens is this. Then as they become pleased, then Krishna and you, the relationship becomes more and more tight by their blessings also. And I was speaking to one guy. We went to the same university. I had a conversation, I think it was last weekend, and he's Hindu, but he said something, and when he said something to me, I could understand that Krishna was making the arrangement for me to be reminded. He said something really interesting. He said to me, it takes a huge amount of grace to advance. And it's true. And I thought, wow, he's not even a Gaudiya Vaishnava, although he's Hindu and he has faith and respect for Krishna and so on. But he said that and it's like completely true. So Shiv Ramaj elaborates on this in Sankalpa Modi. And what he explains is that you make an endeavor. And what happens is your endeavor, if the mercy of Guru is there, then it's the Guru's mercy that causes Krishna to be quickly responsive to your endeavors, and therefore things happen. Right? It's not just you endeavor, therefore you make things happen. It doesn't work like that. And you'll see, if you study carefully the lives of great devotees, you'll see that always some kind of great fortune comes, right? And that fortune is not something that they made happen. They endeavor, Guru's mercy is there, therefore something enters into their life that they could not make happen themselves. So they get some kind of special opportunity. They get some kind of special break, and that's how things progress. You see, even your intelligence is a manifestation of Krishna's mercy. You sometimes have great ideas and think, wow, we should do this. That's not you. That's not you. That's Krishna. It's actually, it's not even, that's not us. We have the desire, Ichcha Shakti. Then the mercy of Guru causes Krishna in the heart to respond to that desire. That's why it's so dangerous to want materiality. Because if you keep demanding it, Krishna may even say, all right, look, I don't want to give it to you because I think it's not good for you, but you keep asking for it. Okay, now you're going to have to learn the hard way that that's not what you really want. Yeah, so that's how it really works. it is actually the mercy of the Lord that makes all these things happen. I'm not sure if I went off or if I actually answered the question.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Did I answer the question?
Yeah,
If not, I can clarify.
I received a reply saying thank you so much.
Okay, but I have a tendency to sometimes get into other things. Did I answer the question? It's the basic point is we progress by the mercy of other devotees. We're interdependent. So what we're trying to do is use our limited ability to please the Vaishnavas and especially to get the blessings of Guru. And by so doing, everything else will come.